Hi, welcome to another video. In this video, I am going to share with you, I am thinking about breaking this up into multiple videos or maybe just doing one big video. We're going to see what happens, but I want to share with you like big picture plans for 2026 in the hope that I can inspire you to think about your own 2026 plans. I am recording this the day before my birthday. My birthday is January 14th, and I'm going to be 48 years old. And normally I would have hit the ground running with goals and plans, and I'm a Capricorn, so we always have like we're mountain goats and we're tough and blah blah blah. But this year felt like the first time that I just didn't feel the rush. I didn't feel the desire or the need to come up with a plan and get in there and just really, just get after it, only to like get myself burnt out and feeling like I'm behind, right? So I like it's been hard for me to have clarity around what I want 2026 to look like because the things that I'm looking for are like seemingly not tangible, right? Like they're not measurable as far as I'm concerned. They're not like SMART goals, right? They're not specific. They're not measurable. They're not like time bound. They're just sort of these like very humanistic sort of these feeling goals, and I will get into it a little bit, but really, this is the first year where I just found myself feeling like, do I want to take myself out of working, right? Like from the time that I was like 15 years old, I've always worked. I've always done tutoring. I've always done, and probably even younger because when I learned about money and I learned about like, oh, like you have to do something for money, and that started when I was young, at chores and all that, and I would get money for like, you know, I don't know, ironing my dad's shirts or whatever the thing is. Like there's always been this like understanding that I have to perform in order to get money. And so like I think I've just always like lived in that space, and I've always worked. I've never not worked as far as I can remember. I mean, I'm going to be 48 years old, and I can recall tutoring and, like helping out, like just doing all kinds of stuff, babysitting, just like always working, right? And then always working multiple jobs. I am a child of immigrants, and so like I just watched my father like work multiple jobs. He's a physician, he's a psychiatrist, but he was always on call. He was always thinking like it was always like you just the work ethic around what it meant to work. It's there. It's in my DNA, right? And so I have always worked. I've always worked multiple jobs. I fortunately or unfortunately, like I went into my career as a therapist, and therapists do not make a lot of money, and so I always had to work multiple jobs. Maybe again with the filter or the belief that I had to work multiple jobs in order to sustain myself, right? And so, going back to when I had my son in 2019, I had actually left the therapy field in 2017 because of burnout. I was just burnt out. Like I was making probably like $70,000 working my community agency job. I was doing part-time group work. I was doing data entry. I was just, all of these things had to hobble together in order to make like $70,000. And when I got burnt out and I was presented with an opportunity to completely leave the field, I took a pay cut. I took a pay cut, and I was making then like $50,000, right? But it meant that I like left the field and got to do something different. And then I went into the finance field as a customer service person for a like boutique finance firm, and that's where it just more opened my eyes around money, right? Like it just more opened my eyes around the idea of like you don't necessarily have to work hard. You have to work, but like, the idea that like money can make money for you through investments, through like savings, through being smart, through having the right guidance or having the right tactics or strategies, you like the ability to make money without you having to actually work, my eyes were open to that. Now, I would also say that I didn't think that that could apply to someone like me. A lot of the clients had like inherited money. Many of them had like worked really hard and like sold a business or whatever the case was. There was excess income, but you just got to see what what it could look like, right? But at the end of the day, I was making $50,000. And so I was still working part time as a therapist in a group practice in order to supplement the income that I lost. You fast forward now to 2019, I have my son. It is, again, like I took, I think, 3 months. I don't even think I took that for maternity leave, but like I had to get back on the horse and get back to working because again, our my husband and I, he's the primary breadwinner, but like my income was contributing to things like daycare or things like like investments or like my retirement or just like basic groceries. Like I needed to contribute to our household. And so 2019, I go back to work, but I go back to work part time. So now I'm making even less income. I'm making half of my income. If I was making 50,000, I'm now making 25,000 because I couldn't work 5 days a week because I was home and doing the part time thing. But I then started, when I look back on it, I mean, it makes me a little bit sad, but that's the reality of what it was. So after I would leave my 8 to 4 job, I then would work for the group practice at night and weekends. And so I was working nights and weekends doing private practice. And then I decided that I wanted to try to branch out on my own. So then I was doing a separate arm of my own therapy practice, which then 2020 hit, COVID hit, and like the world blew up as we know it. And I left the finance job because I just realized that like therapy's in my heart. It's just there. I'm always, it's just, it's in my DNA to be a holder of space for people to navigate and to transform. And I love that. And so I was always going to be a therapist, but I don't know. So I was working for a private practice. I started my own, but again, you're building something from the ground up with a newborn while you're in COVID. And so I've never had that time away from working. Again, I think a lot of people had, the year of COVID to like develop hobbies, to make sourdough starters, to get in shape, all of those things. I never had that because I was like, people needed therapy, like people needed, and I was like in demand. I think I had like maybe 30 to 40 clients a week just working for the group practice and trying to build my own practice and all of those things. So that's 2020, like, and when I say that I was seeing like 30 to 40 clients, that was me taking insurance. And so my take home pay, like if you were paying 150 for a session, I was seeing like $50 of that, or like maybe $90 of that was, but that was what the insurance reimbursed, and then what the private practice was taking a cut out of that. So, like I've never kind of, as much as I've worked, like multiple jobs, I've never made more than like $80,000 a year ever. Like I would just say like ever in my life, right? And I'm 48 years old. So, but I'm working my ass off. I am working my ass off. And so now 2023 comes around and my daughter is born, and I again take 3 months off for maternity leave, but like I'm back at work. Like I'm grinding it out. I'm grinding it out. And still like I'm working mornings and nights and weekends. I think at that point I probably stopped doing weekends because I was like, I cannot sustain this. 2024, my mother-in-law passes away, and she was like a huge help. Like she was a huge, I'm gonna keep it honest. Like she helped subsidize daycare. She helped pay for daycare. She helped, like with just, she helped with like childcare. Like if I needed to go into the office, she was around to watch the kids, or whatever the case is. The kids were in daycare, so I had the luxury of dropping them off at like 7:30 and then not having to pick them up until like 5:30. Shout out to daycare, daycares out there, because that also saved me, but that was also a cost. And again, it was like my husband was the breadwinner. I was making income, but it wasn't enough to really put us in a position that I would say where we felt like we could exhale or take a breath of fresh air. Like there was never, if I did not work, I did not get paid, right? And so just by nature of having lost my mother-in-law and just that as a resource meant that I had to work less, which meant that I brought in less money. But but that was just the logistics of it. So that's 2024. 2025, like it's just now I have elderly parents. I an elderly in-law, my father-in-law. He needs more. I have to be available for sick days. I have to, there's things now where I cannot hustle and grind like I used to. And again, I'm starting to navigate the burnout because now I'm a parent to two young children who I truly believe in the importance of being present for them, but financially I'm not in a position to like take the time off. So 2025 comes around, I'm doing really well. Like I'm saying really well financially, like contributing to our household. But I don't know, like the world just, I don't even want to say the world blew up, but for whatever reason, income started to like dip down. My son started kindergarten, so I lost those hours where I could have seen clients at 8, and maybe could have seen a client in the afternoon. Now he's getting off the bus at 3:30, or there's like there's spring break, and there's parent teacher conferences, and there's half days, and there's all this stuff, and so I'm working less and less and less and less. And so as I approach 2026, there is just this need to think about having the flexibility to navigate what happens with my son's school schedule, navigating that my father-in-law like has significant like appointments and quality of life things. Like he still has a social life, but he can't drive at night. My mom is 3 hours away. My parents are 3 hours away, and like checking in on them and being able to like my mom has had some health scares and has had like emergency room visits where I've had to just drop everything and just to be present. But sometimes I could not be present because I like who's going to watch the kids or who's going to get the kids off the bus. And so I come into 2026 saying I have got to figure out a way to not trade time for money. And in 2025, I decided that I was going to open up like a group coaching arm of the program of my therapy practice, because if I could work with more moms, more women, and help them heal their trauma in less time, and it didn't require me to like be, in the therapy chair for 4 6 hours a day, like so I invested in that. And so I invested in a course, I invested in a coach, but that paired with I wasn't bringing in the income, so now I'm in debt, right? So now I have debt that I have to figure out. I'm saying I, but like my husband and I are very like we're very like talk about it all the time. But in my mind, I look at it as I created this debt. Like, and again, it's an investment, right? It's an investment in education. It's an investment in a course. It's an investment in mentorship and coaching. And so So I know going in that I was going to have to pay for that, but the reality is like I have to pay that back. And that has been going on the credit card every month with me bringing in very little income at this point. And so, when I think about what my goals are for 2026, it is more along the lines of how do I build sustainable income where it doesn't require me to be like in real time sitting in the therapy chair for the 1 hour or the 2 hours or the 4 hours because I do an EMDR intensives that don't require me to trade time for money. And I don't live in a space of like passive income. I think that I don't want to say there's no such thing as passive income. I think that there is such a thing as passive income, but you can get to that after you have probably established the systems. Like that's my belief system, right? Like you can do that once you've established the systems or maybe the reputation or the credibility or just the team to help you step away from having to be there in real time. And so that is like this sort of global goal for me is when I think about the big picture is like how do I give myself the time, freedom, and flexibility to be present as a daughter, as a mom, as like a chauffeur for doctor's appointments, like as a friend to be able to be there for friends who are also navigating like just really like tough stuff. Like you want to be present as a friend and my friends are my family. Like so I call them my family. Like how do I make myself accessible and available to be present for them as they're navigating the ebbs and flows of life. So those are like the goals, I guess. And so I think it becomes about trying to identify like, well, how do I go about doing that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm sharing this from the perspective of if I think about what it doesn't keep me up at night, but what keeps me up at night are the things that like this constantly I'm like the how that like and not even like the how but the like this is the priority. This is the priority. It's the like how do I contribute to my household without like in a way that I still want to be of service to the world. Like that's the other thing. I want to be of service to the world. I so believe in helping women heal, in helping women, be their best selves, like especially moms. Like I just like as a therapist understanding the role of mothers and how critical and how highly correlated the success of our children is to like mom's well-being. Like once you see the statistics you can't unsee those statistics. And so I am all in on this idea of like I need to help other moms be their best selves so that they can raise healthy happy human beings. Like that is a core mission for me, right? But I cannot do that one to one, like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I can't do that. So how do I be of service to my moms out there while also being of service to myself and my needs and my obligations and my responsibilities? Like how do I navigate that? Like, and this is the balance that I feel like it's not. I can't measure that. I can't objectively measure that. I don't think. I'm sure I could. I'm sure people will say that you could, but like that's not that's kind of like a subjective thing. And so, I'm sitting I kind of sit with this list every year. And so I'm gonna go through the questions and try to talk out loud. And I'm only going to do like the big picture goals, I guess, or try to answer the big picture questions. And hopefully, as you see me stumbling through the reality is that I'm stumbling through it, right? Like there's no clear answer, and there's no answer that I feel like I'm going to come up with that is going to set me in stone, like it's going to set in stone, right? So if I ask myself what are my top priorities for 2026, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, is that I want to have availability and presence for my family. I would like to have time and money freedom where I can meet our household needs and my business needs, if we're keeping it real, like in my household needs. And I calculated it this morning, like my monthly bills for my business currently is $3,500 a month, right? Now, that is, again, including the coaching that I committed to for a year, which is, 2000 roughly, like, let's just say 2,500 a month. That is a commitment that I've made for the year. And so, like, I have to come up with that. But again, that has been going on the credit card for the last 6 months. And so not only do I have looking at what my monthly expenses are, which is about 3,500, I have, outstanding money that I also have to be able to think about. How am I going to pay that back, right? And so my top priority is figuring out how to pay off that debt, and also contribute to my household while giving myself time, freedom to be present and available for the reality of being a mom, being the reality of being someone who's in the sandwich generation, who's got elderly parents that need more time and just more of my time. So how do I do that? And then, like, the other priority is like, I am just really all in on this idea of simplifying my life. Like I don't need my life to be more cluttered spiritually, emotionally, physically. Like, I probably would say that I may have, like, leaned into, like, hoarding tendencies. I wouldn't say that, but, like, I was someone who used to be able to, like, wanted to keep everything because everything had a story, everything was important, everything had meaning, everything had energy. And so, like, I had a hard time getting rid of things. And but yet, now that, like, I'm just in this space of, like, I just don't want more stuff. I want things simpler. I want, if I need to be present, drop of a hat, need to go to a doctor's appointment for a family member, I don't want to have to be worrying about clutter, or, like, people can't come over because my house is a mess, or, like, there's clothes everywhere, or because I can't, like, there's just this priority around simplifying my life, like simplifying my life. Like, that is a top priority, is how do I simplify, how do I simplify, how do I simplify, right? And it's like through the process of elimination, subtraction, not addition. This is like my priority. What does success look like for me in 2026? Success looks like for me that I can look at my bank account and not, like, cringe, right? Like, not cringe, not look at bills coming in the mail and having a bit of, like, holding my breath, right? Like success looks like for me that a bill comes in and you're just like, got it. I can sustain it while also like putting money aside for, like, a rainy day fund, or just for vacations, or, like, success looks like the ability to meet my needs and to be of service to others, right? And so when I say be of service, like, how do I still be in the world of providing healing for my moms out there without me having to be in the chair one to one every day of the week, or 5 days a week? Let's just say that, right? How can I be of service in a way that does not require me to, like, be hands on every single day? Right? I want to be hands on. Like, let's not get it twisted. Again, I don't believe in passive, whatever. It's like, I don't even want to say passive income, but I don't believe in just, like, set it and forget it. Like, I want to be hands on with my moms, because I think that is one of my superpowers, is holding space. But how do I do that in a way that's not Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, right? So that is success for me, would be, like, having income coming in, me being of service, but then also saying, oh, you know what, this emergency thing came up, I'm available to be there, and not thinking about, oof, now I have canceled a person and now I've lost income because I've had to cancel a session. What is my ultimate what is my ultimate 3 to 5 year goal? The ultimate 3 to 5 year goal. So if I'm thinking about me in 3 years is 51 to like 53. My son would be, what is he now? He's 6. So 3 years he'd be 9 to 11. My daughter would be 5 to 7. Like, they're both going to be in public school at that point. They're both going to get off the bus, at a certain time. They're both going to have spring break. They're both going to have, Christmas break. They're both going to have, whatever, parent teacher conferences. The ability to just get them on the bus, get them off the bus, and like doing homework with them, traveling during spring break, going to national parks, going to museums, you know, being able to take a week off to go to the beach, take a week off to go to Martha's Vineyard or somewhere else, like being able to travel with my family, like my in-laws and my brother and his wife and my niece. Just that would be the ultimate 3 to 5 year goal. That's the ultimate 3 to 5 year goal. So, yeah, the question becomes now, how do I go about doing that? And that's the big question for 2026. So, I'm going to end it here, and I'm going to keep recording, but I'm going to post them as separate videos, so that I can try to talk out loud about how I'm trying to answer these questions that are in my reflection for what I want to achieve in 2026. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Follow along for the other videos, and I would love to know what your big picture goals are. I would love to know the answers to your questions. I really want to support your big goals however I can. I really, like, a rising tide lifts all boats. And so I just want to see you also be successful, and however I can support you in that. Like, I'm a therapist where it's like you tell me your deepest secrets and know that it is kept here. I want to be of service to you in that way. And so, send me a message. Send me a message. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know, like, what you're scared of. Let me know what is keeping you up at night. Because sometimes I think just saying it out loud to someone who's not going to judge you is game changer. Game changer. So, like I said, I will continue to record the other parts of it, and hopefully you'll tune in and you'll be inspired to come up with your own game plan for 2026. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.